About that.
No.
All right, good morning, everyone. As you all know, my name is Richard, and today I'm here to present the ministry document, Learning for All. So you're all wondering, what is Learning for All? Well, it is, like I mentioned, a ministry constructed document designed to improve student learning at both the elementary and the secondary level. So there are a few shared beliefs, but the main goal here is to be reminded that students can succeed and at any level, personally, as a whole. And the resource attempts to assist a school effectiveness framework, which is described as a broader text of interdependent areas of activity that need to be considered if improvement for students is to happen through the schools. And how to maintain that is through three traits, which is personalization, which means putting the students at the center, making sure that we can personalize our teachings for the students, and then precision, which links assessment for learning, and it's evidence formed to provide proper instruction to the student, and then professional learning, which is ongoing focused learning in context, linking institutional practice with assessment. And so those are the three, that's just the broad example. And so basically this guide organizes to identify and track the strengths and needs of individual students through assessment for learning, which we have all heard about already in our classroom. So that was the introduction of the Learning for All document, and then it moves into instructional approaches, which is the second chapter, and provides various methods to limit a student's achievement gap, which is known by a student's disparity in achievement, which can be affected in various factors. So gender, race, social positions, many factors that can contribute to that. And so there are three approaches that we can provide as teacher candidates to take the learning in a broad aspect, to understand our students in a broad aspect, but also in a very specific form. The first one that's broad is the universal design for learning, and then differentiated instruction, and then the third one is the tiered approach. So UDL for short is an approach to provide access to education for all students and to help assist educators in designing products and environments to make them accessible for everyone. So basically, what it is taking the whole concept of having a classroom as a whole and ensuring that students can all learn together within your classroom. And some of the concepts that UDL include is university and equity, which is tailored to all the students. So just making sure that there is equal learning opportunities in the classroom. And then flexibility and inclusion, which are the resources that are flexible, and the activities include all the students. So it's just ensuring that as a whole that every student's included. And then the appropriately designated space is the organized classroom in which the resources are easily accessible and available for all students of abilities. And then the simplicity is simplifying the instruction, simplifying the learning so the students understand what you're trying to teach. And then safety is ensuring that you do have a safe classroom, just to make sure that all students are safe, they feel comfortable in your teaching environment. And then DI for differentiated instruction is an approach that considers students who differ significantly based on their strengths, interests, learning styles, and readiness to learn. So there are four aspects of that, which is the content is what students are going to learn. And then the process is the tasks and the activities that we will be presenting to the students. And then the products is how the students, they basically take this activities and how they demonstrate the learning in the class. And then the environment and effect is which students, how they are demonstrating the learning in that specific environment. And then finally, the tiered approach, which is a systematic sequential instructional approach that uses specific instructional interventions of increasing intensity to address students' needs academically or behaviorally. So what I did right now is I provided a outline of how the tiered approach looks. So first off, we start off specifically with the one student who, as a whole classroom, we are going to implement the UDL and the DI, which is, DI, I forgot to mention, is specific to the student. That was specific, so it's implementing both. And then if we have to, we put it up to the next level, which is the second tier, which we focus more on the DI because it pertains to the student specifically, to give them more specific instruction. And if that's not working, we bring it up to the highest level, which is more precise. This is where school groups come in and basically help them with their learning. And so number 3 is assessment for learning, which is known as the process of gathering evidence about a student's learning from a variety of resources available. And there are 2 assessments in respect to assessment for learning. The first one is diagnostic assessment, which is typically used before the school year begins. And this assessment allows teachers to obtain background information of the students. So looking at their OSRs, looking at, providing a pretest, just getting an idea of your students. And then formative assessment occurs throughout the school year, which allows the teachers to monitor the students' progress of their learning, how they're doing, pre-quizzes, activities, handouts. It's just to have an idea of how the student is learning throughout the semester. And so this can result in a greater emphasis on helping students develop their higher order thinking skills and critical literacy skills. And then the fourth one I'm going to get to is planning, assessment, and instruction. And there are 2 ways to basically plan this, and it's basically getting to know our students through a class profile and a student profile. So once again, it's going back to knowing how your classroom is, knowing your classroom every semester. And there's one called the class profile, and it goes through 6 steps. The first one being gathering information about the students. The second one is organizing and recording the student information on a class profile template, which is included in the document. And then the third one is selecting instructional strategies and resources based on the information in that class profile. And then we go to the fourth one, which is program planning and the implementation of the UDL, the DI, and where needed, interventions on increasing intensity, which is part of the tiered approach. And then number 5 is monitoring the progress and adjusting strategies and reviewing the overall program. And then number 6 is consultation with the in-school teams and out-of-school resources, including the community agencies. So there is a little bit of a cycle here, and what's happening over here is that this can get bounced back to the fourth one, because with that group, you can then assess and provide that implementation. If you get to a school group and community, they're going to help you provide more of a specific outline for the students. And so the student profile, in that sense, allows teachers to understand the strengths, challenges, and motivations of a student to accommodate and help students succeed in the classroom. And there are 3 aspects to it. One of them is gathering information. Second is providing accommodations to help student needs. And then the third one, advising instructional strategies, monitoring progress, and determining the next steps. So this is more of a specific profile. You just basically have all this information and then accommodate to them. You take this information and you say, okay, how can I accommodate to the student and provide strategies for them to help you succeed in their classroom. So it's more of a individualized, specific program there. And so basically the last one, number 5, learning for all through professional learning. There is a moral purpose which is trying to indicate that we all in the professional learning community have to take our professionalism, the precision, and take all that and incorporate it into this professional learning community. So what that means, what this is trying to implement, is that everyone in the professional learning community has to be on the same page here. We all have to agree that we are going to do our best to ensure that students in general are learning based on how we put the approaches, such as the UDL and the DI, is kind of just getting the broad aspect and helping the students succeed in any way possible. And the way that is measured is based on the results of that professional learning community. So all the teachers can gather up in the boardroom and the principals and make sure that they're all on the same level and ensure that all the students are getting the best learning, and regardless of the ability, and to ensure that the results that are being presented, the educators have to know their students, know where your students are in their learning, knowing where your students need to go in their learning, and knowing how to get the students to where they need to go in their learning. It was a lot of information. I hope you all were able to digest that and understand it. Thank you very much for listening.
3, 2, 1, perfect.
Good job.